Welcome to Moyo Minutes. My name is Gwen Mitchell, and I am the president and CEO of Moyo Institute, a 501c3 organization. I want to share with you a beautiful story, and it's on the topic of certainty. My question for you, first of all, is how certain are you that you know what's right, what's wrong, what's good, what's bad, what's in your best interest, what is actually working against you? Think about that for a minute. So I'd like to share with you a story about an old farmer who had worked his crops for many, many years, and he had one horse. And one day that horse escaped the property, got through the gate, and ran away. His neighbors came to him and said, "Oh my goodness, what a terrible thing that's happened. We're so sorry that you've lost your only horse." His response was, "Maybe." So then the next day the horse came back, and it brought with it 3 wild horses. So now the man had 4 horses on his property instead of just the one. And the neighbors came and said, "Oh my goodness, look at your good fortune. You've now have all of these horses when just yesterday you had none and the day before you only had one. You're really blessed." And the man said, "Maybe." So then the following day, his son decided to try to mount one of the horses. And in trying to ride that wild horse, he fell off and broke his leg. And again, the neighbors came and they said, "Oh, what an awful thing. Your son has broken his leg. What great misfortune. I know you depend on him a lot." And the farmer replied, "Maybe." And then what happened was, a few days later, a general showed up in town to take all of the young, healthy men to war. And this man's son was spared because he had a broken leg, he couldn't go. And so again, the neighbors came and said, "You must be doing something right. What good fortune you have. Your son didn't have to go to war." And the man's reply was, "Maybe." I love that story because it illustrates a lot of different points. The one that I'd like to leave you with is, how do we know? How do we know if something is really for our benefit, or if it's something that's really going to cause problems for us in the long run? What this man knew was that life is not divided into good and bad. Life is a flow. And he had arrived at a state of awareness within his own being that allowed him to simply flow with the events that life was bringing him, rather than grabbing onto them and trying to hold on to that one because that felt good, or pushing one away because that didn't feel so good. He was able to take each event as it occurred and simply flow with it, not judging whether or not it was good or bad. And I want to leave this thought with you. I want to leave this question with you. How certain are you? How certain are you? And I think this is so important right now because as a species and as people in the society that I'm a part of, we're squaring off into corners and we're deciding that I have the truth. I have the right way. I know what's best. And the question that I want to leave for everyone is, how certain are you? Now, I know this is provocative, and that many of you will say, I'm darn certain. I know for sure that this is not in my best interest. And I invite you into the mystery of maybe. And for those of you who look at this story from a metaphysical lens, I'd like to say that the former actually represents a state of awareness, a state of consciousness, of undivided consciousness, of knowing that there is no good or bad, right or wrong in absolute terms, but it's all relative. That in a relative manner, we can make these distinctions that, yes, this doesn't feel good. No, that doesn't feel good. Yes, this is great. No, that's not great. But we really have to take into consideration the entire picture. And those neighbors, I would say, are the thoughts that run rampant in our mind, projecting and commenting on every experience that we encounter. So my invitation to you is to take a look at those thoughts, and rather than latching onto them and holding to them tightly as the truth or even as your truth, consider the possibility of maybe. Thank you.